Let's talk about crafting persuasive emails that people will want to respond to. A lot of the lessons and insights that I'll go into here apply to email, but they also apply to any kind of outreach message. So, be it a cold call, maybe you're sending a LinkedIn message, some of the nuances might change, but the general rule of thumb will stay the same. I will also focus more on psychological aspects in terms of copywriting. So how do you craft the right messages? Less on those, growth hacky type of tips where it's like, if you have your subject line in all caps, people are more likely to click on it, those kind of things. Because at the end of the day, those quick hacks or tricks or techniques, they may work now, but once everyone catches on to it, they will do the same thing, and then your message will kind of not stand out in the crowd again. Because if everyone is doing all caps in subject lines, it becomes a bit spammy, and then people stop opening those kind of emails. So it's not about those kind of how do you quickly catch attention kind of things, but it's more about how do you really speak to someone so that they will want to respond. First, let's go through some rule of thumbs specific to email. With the email, you have a subject line. You might not see this obviously in a LinkedIn message or if you're doing a cold call, but the first thing is you need to get someone to open the email before they will even read it. So if they're not even willing to open it, then you have your first roadblock. So a good subject line is generally short, something that is quickly scannable. Ideally, it's personalized in some way. It's addressing them, it's addressing their company, and it invokes some form of curiosity so that they are inclined to be like, okay, what's in there? I want to learn more. I want to read more. I want to see what it's about. Or maybe you're asking a question, right? Um, so that's basically the subject line in a nutshell. It's not too complicated at all. What about the email itself? A good email is number one, scannable. So it should be optimized for mobile because most people check their emails on the phone nowadays. And if it's optimized for mobile, it's going to look good on desktop as well. So make good use of spacing, no long big paragraphs, those kind of things. You should try to aim, especially for outreach emails, if you're sending them through your own inbox, you want to aim for what we call a plain text email as opposed to a highly formatted HTML email. Those HTML emails that you see from marketing, they do look prettier, they look a bit better, more organized, but some of that formatting will end up triggering spam or promotional folders in the inbox. So don't rely on graphics and formatting to keep your email readable. Instead, communicate concisely and effectively. Those HTML emails are still okay for marketing emails if you're sending them en masse, but if you're sending direct outreach emails, maybe you're trying to find an advisor, an investor, a potential customer, what have you, you want to write as if you're writing a normal email. Third, avoid jargon. Quite obvious, but you want to do so even if you are communicating with an industry expert who should know what you're talking about. Because at the end of the day, the more jargon there is, the more brain processing power that takes, and the less likely we are to engage with that email. And if you are sending a mail merge campaign, so those are campaigns where you are sending a bulk email to a bunch of people where it's personalized, where you can actually fill out those name tags. So for example, it might be hello, first name, and then it will look at your spreadsheet and pull from the first name column and fill that out. If you write those kind of mail merge campaigns, my encouragement is to always start by writing as if you're writing to someone that you know. And then you go in and edit that email and change out the actual uh, things that you are supposed to fill out with the merge tag. And when you do so this way, I find it is a lot more personable. I find that you tend to write in a more warm voice as opposed to when you craft an email using the merge tags. I tend to find that you tend to naturally be a bit more distant when you create those emails. And lastly, a good email has only one simple ask. The more you ask from someone, the more what we call call to action CTAs, the more call to actions there are, the less inclined someone will be to engage and respond. Because the more they have to think, the more they might say, okay, I'll get back to this email later, right? So a good simple email should be something that doesn't require much thinking in order to reply. Um, those complex discussions, they are okay, but you want to reserve them for the phone call or for that meeting. Deviation is acceptable if you are very familiar with someone or if you're already in a working relationship with them. But if you're still just trying to get people to engage, whether it's the first point of contact or maybe you're still building that relationship, I generally don't recommend having big open-ended kind of ask. So you want to try to aim for these close-ended questions instead of open-ended. And close-ended are basically questions that end with a yes, no, or single word answer. Open-ended questions, they are valuable. They are useful for assessing and evaluating and qualifying your customers, but in the outreach process, it's still too early along. You may attempt to just qualify them with a simple yes no here, or get them engaged and interested. Then you can move on to asking those open-ended questions in those calls, in those meetings.